President Trump set to lay out his vision for AI later today. His action plan is expected to focus on three major pillars. First, innovation. Second, infrastructure. And third, national security. And it will include a few executive orders. Joining us right now to talk about the president's strategy is Theresa Payton. She is Fortalice Solutions CEO and the former White House Chief Information Officer for President George W. Bush. Theresa, first of all, thanks for being here. What do you expect to hear today? How would you put it in terms of what this means for AI overall?
Yeah, what I expect to hear today is a conversation. It may include, we need to do this to beat China to the finish line. It may also include some conversations around deregulation. I was just in a meeting last week where a great presentation happened. Goldman Sachs presented on the energy demands that we have to support AI, quantum computing, cryptocurrency. And it's the equivalent of building these new data centers that, if you put it in terms that we all kind of can think of, it would be the equivalent of launching 50 rockets at the same time to the moon, just to power one data center that we're going to need to support these ambitious plans. And then the last thing is I do hope and expect that we will talk about retraining, upskilling America's workforce for the new jobs that will be created. But hopefully we're going to be starting yesterday on that, because we already see where some jobs are getting replaced.
Yeah, I guess this sets the tone. Do you think action follows immediately from the private sector?
Hopefully it does. Obviously, having executive orders and big announcements out of the White House is great to set the tone, but this is going to be a huge public-private sector partnership on a complexity and scale that we have not seen before. And whenever you talk to me about technology and something we haven't done before, that's incredibly invigorating. But at the same time, I think in my mind, governance and guardrails. You need to make sure that somebody is managing this public-private sector partnership to make sure we don't have cost overruns for Stargate, that it really delivers on its promises, that it delivers on budget, on time, and that we get the capabilities out of it that we want. Same thing with, if we're going to do energy deregulation to pave the way for these data centers, making sure there's a balance between the impact on residential neighborhoods that might be near these data centers and powering really important software that's going to be powering America's and the world's businesses.
Okay, there's a very interesting dichotomy, though. How do you protect one over the other? And if part of what you expect to hear is bringing down of environmental protections on some of these things, how do you make sure you do this, do it fast, make sure you can power innovation, but also protect the existing customer base and people who happen to be in the area?
Yeah, this is a tough one, Becky. And, I really, my thoughts and prayers actually go out to the people who are going to be making these tough decisions and balancing this. It's really a balancing act on a tightrope. And, on the one hand, if tough decisions have to be made around power generating a data center that's powering, massive things, whether it's for the U.S. government or for businesses, and there's a dependency on reliability and resiliency. And then you've got a residential neighborhood, and now you're thinking about, well, who gets powered today? Is it a residential neighborhood? Is it the schools, or is it this data center? So this is why our energy policy is going to be so important. And it's really a matter of national security, but also economic security. So we're going to have to see sort of an all of the above on energy. And you're right, we're going to have to find the right people on these governance boards to be thinking about the voice of everyone. So it's not just the voice of the
answer, though? I mean, if you're telling me decide between, a big business that maybe is running important national security things, that's one thing. If it's a big business that's running search queries for where do I find the best deals on travel versus the neighborhood that's there, the school that's there, the hospital that's there, what is the answer? It's, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have the wisdom of Solomon, and you've got to have the right technology experts around the room and the right energy experts around the room. The key is making sure that we have the right throughput of energy to meet all of the needs, and then really working with sort of the energy providers to make sure that we have resiliency and reliability to make sure that everybody's energy needs can be met.
Yeah, good luck with that.
So can I just ask Theresa, what do you make then of these deals? There's a whole bunch of them now where the data center makes a deal with the energy provider effectively for 99.99999% uptime guaranteed, which effectively means that everybody else is not.
Yeah, this is a very tough situation. And this is where people who live in these areas where the data centers are being built need to be asking questions of their elected officials and need to be asking questions about their energy providers, asking them directly, how will this impact me? How will you make sure, from a resident's perspective, that we're covered, that our schools are covered? Because if you're going to be diverting resources to these data centers, what does that mean for the rest of us? Again, this is where energy capacity plans are almost more important right now than the technology plans, because the technology doesn't work if the energy isn't there. So we're going to have multiple sources of energy for reliability and resiliency, but as well for the residences and small and medium-sized businesses that may not be powered necessarily by those data centers. So lots more to come. Hopefully we'll hear today how some of these situations are going to be addressed, who's going to be responsible for those, and what sort of this governance task force. You know, if I were advising the administration directly, I would tell them, you're going to need a governance task force on energy, on your technology security, on your technology resiliency and reliability, and making sure you don't have cost overruns, but also retraining America's workforce. So it is again, this is something that has never been done before. And it is incredibly invigorating and energizing, but at the same time, we need to make sure we've got the right guardrails in place so this is successful.